good evening, good evening, everyone. If you are hearing my voice, then you are at the Books and Booze chat with Miss Beverly Jenkins. Thank you, Miss Beverly, for taking the time with us today. We appreciate you so much, not just for your writing, but just who you are.
Oh,
So
bless
thank you,
you.
thank you, thank you.
Thanks for
And
the
again,
invite.
oh my gosh, you are welcome here anytime. Of course, you need no introduction. And if no one has ever been in your presence, if they have picked up a book, you have, I'm sure, have blessed their souls. But I'm just going to be to keep it with the logistics. I'm just going to say a few things and then you can chime in if I have forgotten anything.
Okay.
Just a few accolades for her. Miss Beverly Jenkins is an African American historic African American author of historicals and contemporary romance with a particular focus in the 19th century African American life. She has done amazing things with bringing Black love to us in back in the 19th centuries or even prior to the 19th centuries and even till date. She has been a recipient of in 2018 the Michigan Library Award for Literary Library Association. In 2017, the Romance Writers of America by Nora Roberts, the Nora Roberts Lifetime Award. In 2016, the Romantic Times Review of Choice Award for Historical Romance, and also nominated for NAACP Award in Literature. And to me, there was no nomination. That is who you are. That is
Oh,
who you are. From since the beginning, you have been the charge in the exclusivity of romance, particularly African American romance. You have been doing that for ever since you started, and we appreciate that because a lot of people don't understand African American love or Black love. And so you have brought it here to us, from back in the day all the way to date. So thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
you're very, very welcome.
All right. So we are here talking about, we're going to kind of keep it kind of closer. We're here to talk about women who dare.
Right.
And I wanted to say to you, just back in June, we had your birthday celebration.
Hmm.
I was blessed enough to come there, and the theme was women who dare. And I want to say to you, if your shoulders are feeling just a little bit heavier, it's because now I am standing on. She does. If you all have never been there before, Miss Jenkins does. At the end of the event, she does what she calls the sister circle, and it is a very meaningful um, event. And when you leave there, you don't leave there the same way you came. I have been blessed enough to go there twice, and but this particular time it hit just a little bit different. And so, along with other people, I have now done something. And she charged us with being a woman who dare. And I have now done something that I've been trying to do for 5 years, and I left there with the confidence enough to pull the trigger on it. So I
Wow.
thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome. You're welcome.
All
And I
right,
hope
Miss.
whatever, and I hope whatever, I'm so short. And my chair doesn't go up anymore. And I got this damn all in one that looked like a 55-inch screen TV. Um, so I'm like, can you see me now?
I
Um,
listen. I'm sitting on pillows. I got the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah, I got the pillows down here on the floor. But I wanted to say that I hope whatever you pull the trigger on is successful and satisfies your spirit. And go, girl, go.
Yeah. All right. All right. So I will let you know as soon as it comes to, ever get everything in order. You are going to
Okay,
be one of the first I'm going to come to show you my labor of love.
okay.
Good, welcome, 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 Martha. We have JB out here. We have Ola. We have Louise. We have Lawanda, I think it is.
Whoa, I'm looking at the comments. We got a whole lot of people in the house.
Yes, 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 yes. And I think Shay Baby is out here as well, but you know, she is a unknown here. So if you see this right here, this is her.
Okay.
So yeah, so hey Shay, hey Veronica, thank you so much for joining us. That's Shay, JB, Alicia. Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Sharon, Tiffany. Nobody's behaving today,
No, we're
Tiffany.
not.
It's
Sorry.
Friday. Valencia. Hi, 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 everyone. Okay, Miss Beverly.
Yes.
So we got these three books, this trilogy here. Let me just pull this up so the people can know. All right. So we got Rebel, we have Wild Rain, and we have To Catch a Raven. Now, this trilogy here, you have decided to title it Women Who Dare. Now, you've been writing Women Who Dare for a long time. So,
Yeah.
what was the inspiration for titling this trilogy Women Who Dare?
Well, everybody is into series now, and I guess you have to give the series a name. And yes, I've been writing Women Who Dare since the very first book, since
Hmm.
Night Song in 1994. So my editor and I are going back and forth, and she said, "Well, we always do Women Who Wear Dare, so let's just call it that." So we just used, why reinvent the wheel, and
Hmm.
so we just decided to call it Women Who Dare. And at that point, just like everything else with my writing, I had no idea who the women would be.
Hmm.
So, but it turned out to be, quite a series. And people were like, "Can we have another one?" And I'm like, "No, trilogy means three. So we can only do three books." I'm glad you guys love the covers. I did too, especially this last one.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's Angel on the front. She does you can see half of her face. She does a lot of my covers because she's so versatile. She's also on the cover of Forbidden. She's on the cover of Rebel.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Here we can go back to
she's
Rebel
on
to
a
show.
couple other. That's her right there on Rebel
Yeah.
with the very, very handsome Mr. Travis Cure. Um, he had never done a cover like this before, and so Angel was gracious enough to guide him and sort of move him around and show him the ropes. And that's just a really, really tender kind of a scene. Um, so yeah, I enjoy having her, on the covers of my books.
Well, we enjoy her too because she fits the thing. And I see she's there being a woman who dares, right?
Yeah, you're right. There you go. There you go. There you go.
So, Miss Bev, so back I think it was 1994 with Night Song, right? And
Hmm.
so when you're doing your when you started writing the books and then even now this journey has, what has been the one thing that you feel like have you've met with the most resistance?
Nothing. I mean, I have never, from my publishers, I've never gotten any kind of resistance.
Hmm.
Um, Resistance maybe from some of the romance readers,
Hmm.
in the sense that you get the stupid phrase, well, I don't read, black books because, I can't relate. And
Really?
I have always said you can relate to vampires and shapeshifters and men who turn into dragons, but you can't relate to black people, humans who are in love. I got an issue with that. But that
Mhm.
seems to be changing. We have a lot more white readers who are reading, not only me, but Brenda and Vanessa Riley and
Mhm.
Alyssa Cole and some of the um, quote unquote bigger names.
Mhm.
But that is the only real issue for me is trying to broaden the readership. But and then
Mhm.
when they do, and I got a lot of white readers. We all have a lot of white readers. And when they do read them, the people who've been hesitant, always say, "Oh my God, this is a great book." It's like, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, it's great books. We are great writers. Um, we got great stories, and it's all about love. It's not
Mhm.
about whatever they thought. And with me, some of the concerns, that's what we're gonna call it, that they
Mhm.
had was that they couldn't figure out how we loved in dealing with being black in America. And I was like, well, if we hadn't had love, we wouldn't be here. We
Exactly.
we had to be able to come home from dealing with the dumb stuff and the lemons that America has continued to give us for 200 years and get that love and get that solace and get that hug, um, so we could get up and go out and do the same thing the next day. you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
so, and in spite of all of the terror and the Jim Crow and the lynchings, like with the Red Summer of 1919, we still had birthday parties. We still built
Mhm.
colleges. We still
Mhm.
had weddings. We had reunions. We had baptisms. We had church. We had our own schools. So it wasn't like, we are here in spite of America. And I think that's one of the problems today. They can't believe we still here. We ain't going nowhere. We built this damn country. So
It's
we are
true. True that.
we are
True.
here, and we are not going anywhere. So, but yeah, black love is the underpinning of our foundation, our strength.
Yeah, and when you write your books, you are a plethora of history, stuff that I myself, children after me, don't get in school.
Right.
But when you're doing your research and sometimes doing like the reconstruction and those periods like that, you're doing the research. Obviously, you're coming across some of those more uncomfortable things.
Hmm.
But when you write your books, you write them in the way where we get our HEAs, we get
Hmm.
our history, but we don't, after we finish reading that book, we're not left with that anger of
Yeah,
what happened before us. Now, what do you think is your ingredient for doing that?
I do the
And
crying
so
for you.
well.
I do the crying for you because there's some parts in there that break your heart,
Yeah.
break your heart. Um, and then I also have to remind myself that I'm writing a romance,
Hmm.
and that should be the focus of the story,
Hmm.
just like the lives that we lead today are the focus of our stories. The rest of the stuff is in the background. Um, we're still getting up every day and going to work. We're still getting up, and so to write about the everyday lives of the ancestors is one of the things you have to focus on. So,
Hmm.
like with Catch a Raven, you learn the history of the Massachusetts 54 through
Hmm.
Braxton's memories.
Hmm.
He was there, and being in Charleston made him remember. So you can easily tell that history through him. I like to have my characters either be the history or been formed by the history,
Hmm.
or to be able to tell the history in a way that's informative, that makes you proud or makes you angry, or makes you feel pride, or puts tears in your eyes. And then, as in life, we move on to the next chapter. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
And
makes
I just
sense
want
or not.
Oh no, it does totally. But I just want to ask you too before, and then I think Sharon has a question that is a really good question too. So when you're researching and you come with those difficult moments, how do you deal with the emotion? Before, I mean, do you is it while you're writing the book? Do you have to take like a pause before you continue writing? How do you deal with
Sometimes I
that?
do. Sometimes I
Hmm.
do. sometimes I sometimes I got to go sit down and cry a bit.
Yeah.
Um, but my focus is to show our strength,
Hmm.
even in the face of all that. No, we didn't like riding the cattle cars.
Hmm.
No, we didn't like whatever the issue was. But it kept us going. It made us stronger. We figured out ways to get around it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the ancestors were some of the most cleverest people ever in order to negotiate their way through the madness that has been America. So yeah, there are moments when I got to get up and go sit outside and have a cigarette and and shake it off and then come back and write it in a way that is educational and sometimes affirming.
Yeah.
Uh, you
True.
know,
Hmm.
so it runs the gamut of feelings.
Yeah. So Sharon wants to know, was it always your intention to teach as well as entertain? Because you do both.
Yeah, yeah, I call it edutainment. Um,
Okay.
I think it was an unconscious kind of a thing. I think because I did have to. I mean, it didn't make sense to write a story with um, Black people at that time frame and
Hmm.
not tell the story of who we are and tell it in an accurate way because there's a whole lot of inaccuracies. You
Yes.
can't get your history from Hollywood. You can't get your history from TV. And there are enough great, and have been enough great historians, African American historians, who have told the story in a way that is based on truth that I was able to use. Um, and I tell people, I was raised in a home with Black history. My mama was Black before it was fashionable.
Hmm.
So I grew up with that history and knew that we had um, a history that was deep enough and wide enough and rooted enough in order to be the background of a historical romance. Even though New York at the time, you had editors back in the 80s who said that, there would never be African American historicals because, number one, there'd be nobody with the talent to write it. Hello. And number two, I know, roll your eyes, right? And number two, we didn't have the history. But we've always had the history. It's just been smothered or ripped out of the quilt or burned out of the quilt. And not only Black folks, but all the marginalized groups. Whether you're Chinese or whether you're Native or whether you're Japanese or Mexican, and we've all contributed in our own way, in our own unique way, to what this country is supposed to be.
Right.
So yeah.
I think too sometimes when I read your books, I call them sometimes such a time as this books because,
Hmm.
and also they are, um, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Oh yeah, especially
You know
now.
what I mean?
Especially now.
So yeah, like so back say whatever in 1800s or something may have been happening, but when I read your books and I pay attention to what's going on, I'm just like, this looks strangely like what
Yeah,
happened
yeah,
back
because we
then,
yeah, because
right?
we're going through the days after Reconstruction right now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
America never learns.
And the
They
thing
never
too
learns.
yeah, and I often say sometimes like and I'm guilty too because like I just sit back and I watch and and but if people could read or just get a glimpse of what we did back then and how we overcame,
Hmm.
right? So you just hold off and you do some of that same stuff, and then we will overcome again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Instead of like being the wounded person. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that back then they didn't have a real script. They were
Yeah.
just trying to live, just like we're trying to live right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
And looking back, we can say, well, they did this, 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 and this. And then 100 years from now, people will look back at us and say, well, they did this, 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 and this, and it'll be our script. Um, I don't think they were doing anything else but trying to put food on the table,
Mhm.
raise and educate the kids,
Mhm.
um, and and try and catch a breath, in dealing with all the stupidity and the madness and the discrimination and the disenfranchisement and all of that. So I
Yeah.
don't think they are any different than we are, but they didn't spend a lot of time wallowing. You
Yeah.
know, they
I mean,
you know
yeah. I mean,
they didn't
we
have
spent time.
time.
Right, true. Because
They didn't have time to wallow.
it was like they were more manual back there. We're more like we got all of these electronics and everything. Like sometimes I just wish I could put those things away and just let me do stuff the old fashioned way, because I think it gives you character when
Yeah,
you can do stuff, with your hands on your own. I just love a good story that you write. I mean, I'm telling you, because you need these type of stories in order. Sometimes it is just a manual for what you need to be doing or what you could be doing to better yourself.
right.
You
Yeah,
know,
because you can
uh,
always learn from the people who walked the path before
yeah,
and who made the path wider. So yeah, you're right. You're right. But I'm
and
just writing. I'm just a little colored girl from the east
yeah,
side of Detroit trying to tell my stories.
you
That's
may be
all I'm
that,
doing.
but don't you ever say you just writing, because when I tell you, um, you have a purpose.
Yeah,
This and I'll say this too, and I'm sure this whole vast audience will agree with me. You are the women, you are the woman who dare, right?
yeah, yeah,
And you don't just you don't just talk about it or write about it. You are about it. You be about it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you you don't just hold all of this stuff to yourself. You share. You pick people up. You don't mind sharing the knowledge, and you definitely don't mind teaching the story, so we
yeah,
appreciate that. But we all stand to learn something from you.
yeah. Oprah always says, knowledge is power, and it
Yes.
is. But if you don't share that knowledge, the
Hmm.
only powerful person in the room is you,
Yeah,
and that benefits no one.
exactly.
So, if you have, it's like with Bernadine, and that quote from Luke. When much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
So it would not benefit anyone
Hmm.
if I took all of that knowledge that my mama shared with me and that her grandfather shared with her
Hmm.
and just sit on it and say, okay, well, I got mine. Now you get yours. That's not the way it's supposed to work.
Exactly.
I think this is my fourth generation of readers. And I love telling the story, and I don't remember who it was. One of my ladies, her grandson was doing a Black History report. And
Hmm.
in school, ain't but five Black people in African American history.
Hmm.
So he did, and I don't remember whether he did the Black whalers or whether he did the Black lawmen of Indian Territory. But anyway, it was
Hmm.
a subject that the teacher had no clue about. And so when he turned the paper in, she said, well, where did you get this information? And he looked at her and he told her, by grandmama's Miss Bev books.
Oh,
So
How's that for an explanation?
So
Not the
grandma,
footnotes, not the footnotes, but this.
yeah, yeah, so grandma had shared that history with
Hmm.
him, and he
Wow.
did that Black History report. So you have the women, and when you educate a woman, you educate a race. So
Yes.
so she passed that on to him. He passed it on to the teacher. He's schooling her now. So that
Mhm.
is sharing the power, sharing the knowledge, and passing it down. So I love that story. Um,
Yeah, that one is quite sweet, because I
yeah,
can just see that, because these teachers sometimes it's like, where did you get your information from?
right,
Put
right.
that down there.
Yeah, he said from my grandmama Miss Bell books. So
Hmm.
we
So
are
let's.
teaching our teachers. Go ahead.
Mhm. No, 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 no. I was gonna say, yeah, it is teaching like you are. You know what I'm saying? It's passed around. I always say to my kids, I was saying to my kids when I was taking care of my elders. Sometimes we take a lot of stuff for granted, and then we feel like we have more time, but then the knowledge that they can give to us, while they're still here,
Mhm.
we will have that, and we can press it on because I think we don't have. We're losing those roots. It
Yeah.
keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So I think now it's high time that I tell all of these young people to sit with your elders, listen to those stories, no matter how many times they repeat themselves. Get those
And
stories.
one of the great things you can do is record them.
Yes, yes,
The
yes,
Smith.
yes.
I don't think it was the Smithsonian that's got a project. I think it was either Smithsonian or NPR. I had a program where they were encouraging people to record the stories of the elders,
Mhm.
so that we'll have them, going forward, and when they pass along. Um, and the people who, because I'm 70, so the people who were in the generation before me, which would have been my mom and all of them, there's only a few of them left.
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
they learned from their parents, because my grandfather was born in 1900, they're taking not only their history, but their parents' history and their grandparents' history to the grave with them. So, it behooves us to record them so that we can pass them on to our kids and our
Right.
grandkids,
Hmm.
um, so that they will get that story, get that history, and know where they came from.
Yeah. Hello, if you all are just joining us, we are here at the Book Bar and we are having an evening with Miss Beverly Jenkins. We're talking specifically about the women who dare, but we always venture off into something else. So just come on in the room, hang out with us, And I see the comments up here. I'm putting them up here, and they are all great comments. If you
Mhm.
have a question, also put them in the comment, and we can get if time permits, we can get Miss Bev to answer the question. So Miss Bev, when you did Rebel, you did Wild Rain, and then To Catch a Raven, what was your process in picking these particular characters? Like what was your process there?
Each book is different.
Hmm.
I mean, and yeah, and I mean, in all ways, because
Hmm.
sometimes a book will come to me via a character. Sometimes it'll come to me via a piece of history, and
Hmm.
sometimes it'll come to me via what my readers want.
Hmm.
So, um, Rebel came to me because years and years and years and years and years ago, reading about Louisiana after Reconstruction or during Reconstruction, and I read about a teacher who was doing teaching in abandoned um, train cars,
Okay.
and I have always wanted to use that little piece of history And then I have a friend in South Carolina who's an educator. She's retired now. Her name is
Okay.
Valinda. And so all those pieces came together
Mm-hmm.
to make Valinda. And then, of course, the Levesques are in Louisiana. And I
Mm-hmm.
still have three brothers to go. So that was basically um, the mix for Rebel. And then Wild Rain grew out of that was fan inspired, readers inspired. Um, because you meet Wild Rain, we meet Rain, Spring Rain,
Yeah.
first in Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
And she was such an interesting character. And everywhere I went, everybody was like, well, when are you going to give Rain, Spring a story? Spring needs a story. And for the most part, I agree with them. A lot of times I don't agree because I don't know the backstory enough. I don't know
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
about the character to write a book. But with this, I was intrigued. I wanted to know, a little bit more about her. So she, as a character, and all of the clamorings of my readers sort of brought that book to life.
Okay. I'm
To
glad you
Catch a
did
Ray, yeah, I am too, because it was an interesting book club meeting with that book.
her.
Interesting book club meeting with that book. We can talk about that in a minute. But and then Raven, I don't know, I have characters in my head who have been carrying with me for years, who are, still waiting for their stories. And she just sort of showed up out of nowhere. Um,
Wow.
but I had always wanted to do the American branch of Pilar Banderas, who was the heroine in Destiny's Captive. And she was from a family of grifters in Cuba. And she always spoke about there being an American branch. So I thought it would be fun to do a, 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 a grifter family in America. And yes, she's part of the Banderas group. But this book takes place before Destiny's
Mm-hmm.
Surrender. And then pair her with somebody who was just like a duck out of water. He's like, what the hell am I doing here? I don't want to do this. I'm straight laced. I stay within the law. Y'all got me out here talking about stealing shit. You know, poor baby. He was
But
because he
he
was
handled it. He handled it pretty well though. I wasn't sure where you were going with him with that because like you said, he was everything you said, and then the conversation he had with his dad, and finding out what
yeah
his dad was doing, and then coming here and then getting with her and then doing the whole mission thing. Oh my God, that was just too funny. I actually love this book, and I have a few questions about that too, but continue on because I love how you're talking about these books, this
yeah
trilogy. It's awesome.
yeah. We had the book club meeting for this one on Tuesday, and we was up till past midnight talking. But so they were all different, and a lot of times the three books. I mean, a lot of times when people do trilogies, you have three brothers from
Hmm.
the same family, or three sisters from the same family, or three people who live in the same building or something like that. And these are not connected in any other way, so they can be read as standalones, even though they are part of the
Yeah.
series. But I had a ball with each of them. I think I had um, fun with Raven. It was
I
laugh
did
out
too.
loud kind of. Oh my God, poor Brax. We had mice and we had all kinds of stuff. Um, I know. And the first draft that I turned in, poor Erica, my editor, she was like, "What is this?" Because we had sort of agreed that it's going to be a heist book. It's going to be sort of like you know um, Ocean's 11 and all of that. And it was just a mess. I mean, it was just too many people doing too many different things, stuff that wasn't connected. It was like, so, I'm so blessed to have a great editor,
Mm-hmm.
because she was able to, corral all these cats and push me in the direction and make the book do what I thought I was doing in the first place, which I was not. Um, but Rain, she was so interesting because
Yeah.
a lot of times in romance, people expect babies. They expect
Mm-hmm.
at the end you're going to get the standard, and then they married and she's pregnant and everybody's, well.
Mm-hmm.
And Spring was not about that life. She was like,
Yeah.
I don't want no kids.
Yeah.
And so the conversations that we had around her in the book club meeting the night that we discussed the book was really, really interesting. And one of the things that I always do when we do book club is emphasize that this is a safe place
Mm-hmm.
and that everybody's opinion is respected. So we had women who said they were holding their breath at the end of the book, hoping that she wouldn't change her mind. But I knew going in that she wasn't going to change her mind. There wasn't going to be no babies in this book. And some people were really not happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a large, especially these days, percentage of women who have chosen to be childless.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not the women who are medically challenged. These are women who
Mm-hmm.
say, I am enough. Me and my partner are enough. We don't need no babies.
Yeah.
And nobody is writing books for them in romance or not enough. So this was my tribute to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you got people out there with kids that don't want kids. So,
Yeah. That's true
you
too.
know, so that was my tribute to the women who, and I dedicated it to the women who don't want to change their minds. They under all kinds of pressure from their parents and people at church. When you gonna have them babies? I ain't having no
Mm-hmm.
babies. So,
Yeah.
and then there came the questions about, um, well, she should have had the babies for him because this was his first free child born in his family, and we sort of dealt with that also with Night Song, but we dealt with it in a different way. But
Mm-hmm.
his mama told him, "Do you want Spring or do you want a broodmare? If you want
Yeah. I
somebody to
remember
have
that.
babies, then you need to get a different woman because she ain't doing that." So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he made the choice to get off the train and go back to her. So, just really, really interesting kinds of issues that you don't really start out when you write a book. Well, this is going to be the issue of this book. It's they sort of, especially for me, because I'm a pantser. They just sort of evolve. So
Mm-hmm.
the
Well,
trilogy's been
I'm
great. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I'm glad that your editor has let you kind of have your own way with this because I want to say so here we have Rebel. We had was what she was the school teacher,
Right.
and actually and if I can remember correctly, she was a free woman, but she
Hmm.
kind of went back into a time when they had just become free, and so things were a
Right.
little bit shaky there to teach. But even with Belinda, she was a fighter.
Yeah.
She was very
Yeah.
independent. She was a fighter. She was smart. Took no prisoners, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you had Spring, who I felt like was interesting, so interesting because again, not without the whole not wanting to have kids, but she was a rancher,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she too was like, listen, ain't nobody got time for you. Like you
Right.
either on the train or off the train. Either way, I'm leaving, right?
Right. Yeah.
Uh, but I want to tell you with this one here, Miss Bev, when I first started reading this book, it was just I was it was cut up because I was when the first heist started. I'm leaning in like, where's she going with this? Because
That
I'm
was
thinking
one of the questions.
historical.
That was the very first question that I asked the book club. I said, "Did you ask yourself what the hell is Bev doing this time?" And they were like, "Yes." Where are we going with this, Miss Bev? I know, I know.
But
But
it
you
was
try
one of
and
those
give,
things where you kind of leaned in, but you was
yeah,
not. I don't care what you was doing. You wasn't taking your eyes off of that. It wasn't one of them things where I don't know. This don't seem like a Miss Bev book. I'm just gonna put this down. No, you was all in with this book. And
yeah,
when I tell you, and congratulations for winning U.S. bestseller
yeah. It was on
for
the
this one
bestsellers list.
here.
Yeah. Thank y'all for
Okay,
everybody who bought a book. And that's one of the
listen.
things, we as writers like to emphasize. Even if you aren't going to read that book that first week, please buy it. Put it
Mhm.
away, because that first week is the only week that they count. So if you want to get more African Americans on those US Today or New York Times bestsellers list, buy the book or the ebook in that first week.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. Go ahead.
No, no, no. I mean, those are all things that we need to know. I mean, for me, my platform is yes, talking about the books, the literary thing. I'm all about the whole literary business. Like whatever
Okay.
you need the readers to do, shout that out because we
Yeah.
need to
Okay.
hear it.
Yeah.
But why do you think um this one got US bestseller?
I put a lot of effort into promoting it,
Okay.
um, especially on, uh, especially on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The little book talk kids, um, especially the African American ones. I got a lot of followers on Twitter, and I think I devoted quite a bit of time to promoting this. um, I put up a ton of tropes. I told them, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, scratch off this list. It's going to have this and 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 this. And when you run into it, cross it off your list. I made it fun. I also
Mm-hmm.
had a pre-order weekend where, it was a couple weekends before the book came out. I put stuff up on Twitter and on Facebook. And
Okay.
a lot of my readers helped with that. Um, so out of the 150 books that they count, we came in at 128, which was fine with me. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you wanted it to be higher and all that, but I'll just take my spot. I'll take
Yeah,
128.
yeah.
I'll take 128.
Yeah,
But
pass is a pass on any test, right?
yeah, right. There you go. I'll take a C. So, but you never really know what book is going to hit. You really, really don't.
Yeah.
So it was a blessing, and I got on my Facebook page and thanked everybody who bought a copy, and I did the same thing on Twitter, because I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on TikTok. I'm on enough. I get on another social platform, my editor gonna walk from New York and slap me,
Right.
because I spend a whole lot of time on Twitter. Um, but you never know what's gonna hit and what's not, so it's really hard to predict why. All you can do is say, well, I did this, and this, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that made a difference. But because you don't know the story going in, when you first pick up the book, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
people could say, well, I read it, except for the people who got advanced reader copies. They were on
Mhm.
Twitter saying how much they loved it. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
It's all a crapshoot in the beginning.
Mm.
But I had
Well,
such fun writing it.
yeah, I agree with Loretta about promote, promote, promote.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the literary. It used to be, or I thought that it used to be like mostly your indie authors that you had to, really, really promote, 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 promote. Because
We do too.
they're yeah.
Traditional
But
does too.
now, yeah, traditional. I'm noticing that y- yes, a lot. You need a lot of work there too. So, guys, listen. If you're in the sound of my voice, wherever you are, if you're a reader, again, like Miss Bev says. the first week of book releases, buy the book. If you don't have time to read it, that's fine. Just get the book, but then also do read it, and then also too do a review
Yeah,
on it too, because that all helps too. Tell a
yeah.
friend, and all of that. Um, Jennifer Copeland had a question earlier about how long does it take you to do your research?
It depends on the book. If it's like 19th century Reconstruction,
Hmm.
um, since I've done quite a few of those books, it takes less research now than it took for when I did, say, like Through the Storm in the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, with Raven, I didn't have to do a lot of research, but I did have to do research on stuff like Confederate money when I got the woman's face and the yellow fever, and
Oh
so
wow,
little
yeah.
pockets
Hmm.
that had to be researched because you want to be as accurate as you can because they're already looking at you with the magnifying glass trying to make sure you got everything right so that they can't say,
Right.
well, she got that wrong and she got that wrong and she got that wrong. um, but it depends. I'm doing less research now than I did at the start of my career, unless it's a totally foreign subject to me. So, hope that
What
answers Jennifer's question. Go ahead.
what is your go-to place for research? Like, do you have like most people use Google, but do you go old school, like get books from the
Well,
library?
I got a lot of books here in the house. A lot of books. I
Mm-hmm.
got one, two, three big bookcases in here. I have one, two. I've got like 6 stacks in the hallway. Um, I need, I really need rehab because I ain't got no more room, and I keep buying history books. Um, and then I got 2 bookcases in boxes
Mm.
that I'm trying to clean out another room so I can put those bookcases up so I can get these books out of my hallway. So, because if there's ever fire, I'm gonna be dead in the hallway from tripping over the books that are in the hallway.
Right.
So um, that was supposed to be my job this summer, but I just sort of just sat around and caught my breath.
No,
But
as you need to do that too every now and then.
yeah, yeah, especially me because I have been on a nonstop deadline for the last probably 6 to 7 years.
Hmm.
Just book after book after book after book after book. You're welcome, Jennifer. Book after book after book. So I needed to just take a break. So I did that. And now I'm on deadline again. I'm trying to get Blessings 11 done because my poor readers, and this book has been put off twice. Um, and so if they have to put off again, they're just going to probably come to my house and
Right. I was gonna say they're gonna
protest
come looking
outside.
for you.
Yeah, they're going to come looking for me outside my house. So I'm trying to get
Mm.
that done and get that turned in. Um,
Now, Sharon asked a question, Miss Bev, about how do you get advanced copies? Like, I don't know if you have a particular way. I know for me, sometimes I get advanced copies through NetGalley,
yeah,
but
most
other
people
than
get
that,
them
I
through
don't
Net.
know.
Yeah, some people get
Hmm.
them through NetGalley. Goodreads does giveaways.
Hmm.
Sometimes I give them away at book club meetings because I get, they don't give me a lot of advance.
Hmm.
They may give me 7 or 8. If you're a reviewer, a lot of times I'll send them to reviewers.
Hmm.
So there are different ways, but NetGalley is probably the best way if you're not a reviewer. Um, or like I said, or you can get one on my publisher usually gives away a few on Goodreads. Mm-hmm.
So when now that and I wanted to ask too about this is, and I'm jumping a little bit, but you mentioned the Blessing series.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there have been some talks about Blessing series maybe coming to screen
Mm-hmm.
to the movies. Is that still something that
As
we're
far
looking
as
to
I
do?
know, it is still going to happen. I think they're going to supposedly start casting soon, but my agent and I have not heard anything in the last 6 months.
Mhm.
So fingers crossed. When I hear something, I will definitely let everybody know because it's something that we all have been, rooting for and hoping for, and got our
Yes.
fingers crossed for. Um, so we will see. Sony finally gave up on Forbidden and gave the rights back to me. We
Okay.
thought we had a project. We had got a green light. They did a script, and then COVID hit.
Mhm.
And the people who had done the green light, sort of, you know, went off to the four winds. So
Mhm.
then they put it out one more time, and we didn't get any kind of nibbles. So it's back home with Mama again. But it's. I mean, whoever thought I'd be this far into it? It's.
Yeah.
I'm content to. I'm gonna keep writing. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm gonna say, "Oh my God, I know movies. I'm not gonna write again." That ain't gonna happen. So we'll see what
Yeah. I
happens
mean,
going forward.
yeah, they do need to have it on a DVD. Ola, I agree with you too. But just the fact that you're writing it and we get a chance to read it is satisfactory enough for me. I feel like if there is anything that should be on screen, I think there should be more Beverly Jenkins books for a
Yeah,
number of reasons.
yeah. I'm
But you
shameless.
did
I
have
want
one,
everything. I'm
yeah,
shameless.
but
I
you
want
did have,
everything.
you
Well, we
do
did.
have
Well,
one that was in,
Iris did
yes,
Deadly Sexy, and she did a fabulous job.
I
And
agree.
and we both were a bit disappointed in the reaction or the support that we
Yeah.
didn't get. Years and years, everywhere I go, people's like, "Oh, Miss Bev, when are you gonna make a movie? When you make a movie?" So we said, "Okay, we're gonna make a movie. Can you throw us $5, please?" So we did not get the money that we needed to do a big blowout kind of
Mhm.
production. But Iris did a damn good book on with safety pins and bobby pins
Mhm.
and buttons and staples and shoestrings. Um,
Yeah, I
so
was I was happy enough or blessed enough to be on set with that, and I want to tell you that I would like you, I was a little disappointed too because I feel like we should all be putting our money where amount of money where our mouth is,
right,
and I don't know all the logistics behind everything, but I knew enough to know that we fell short. You
yeah,
know,
way
um,
short, way
yeah, we
short.
did. And so next come around, if we get the opportunity, if and when we get the opportunity to have something like a blessings or even a forbidden or even a women who dare
Yeah,
type of thing, like guys, we need to do our part, right?
right,
Because
yeah,
nothing happens for us unless we are interested in it ourselves,
yeah.
right?
Fubu for us by us. You
Yes,
know,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so let's get back to this right here. So now you all of these are all out there published. You've gotten readers, you've had some feedback and everything. Okay. What was the most interesting thing one of the readers or anybody has said to you about these books? Let's take Raven for sure. So that'll be widespread. So let's take Raven.
Oh,
What
oh, the
was the most
most
interesting
interesting
thing?
thing. Uh, I was surprised that not a lot of people knew about yellow fever. That was, mm, because I was thinking that people knew a lot about it, but they didn't. So I guess the history parts, um, and just the laugh out loud moments.
Hmm.
When the book opened and people were like, "Where is Miss Bev going with this book?" Um,
Yeah.
Somebody said, "I didn't know if I was gonna like this chick." She said, "But I kept reading, um, and I think another one of the most interesting things was Dory. Everybody
Ah,
loved Dory.
yes, yes, yes.
Dory told the nun, "You're pregnant. You're gonna have a boy." And the nun screamed and passed and fainted on the floor. And the mother superior said, "You can't come back to this school. I'm sorry."
Out of the mouths of babes, right?
Exactly. So I don't know.
Um, I tell you, I enjoyed every one of these books. I love them. But I want to say to you that To Catch a Raven um, was a little bit different for me, and I feel like for me, I'm all about family. Like, listen, I love my family. Like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same DNA.
Right.
But with this one right here, the reason why I highlighted so much for me is because of the family that was in there, right?
Yeah.
And it was what was your intent here? Because here's the thing: when I was reading this, they were all different in a like they were Creole, they were from Dominican, from Cuba, they were from all over, and it was just like every time you turned around, it was like, oh, that's my cousin, or this is my cousin, that's my uncle. This, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they were just from all over.
Yeah. Well, I'm from a large family.
Uh huh.
I have 6 siblings. My mother had 6 siblings. I have 21 first cousins. So the joy for me, um, my connection in that joy is from, there's nothing like a large family.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
my poor late husband, right? He's the only child.
Oh,
His mother was the only child. So he was like Brax, he in the corner trembling. Who are all these people? Why are they all in the same room? What the hell's going on here? Um, and then you also have Louisiana where race is different on a lot of levels for a lot of families
mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm.
Louisiana. You got the Creoles, you got the people passing for white who are also black. You got, the people from the DR. You got the people from and they're all, all cousins and grandmas and cousins and aunties and uncles. And I wanted to do that great family, dynamics
Mm-hmm.
with Raven. And they were all grifters. Everybody was, was not who, you thought they were. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then
But
Fanny's plan, to,
yeah, what about that? Like, where did that
yeah,
one come from?
I needed a reason for them to be grifters
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to just be thieves, for my own kind of, value kind of thing. And for me, that was the way to do it. I mean, she wanted them to be able to lift the family out of, post-slavery poverty, in a world that wanted them to remain in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And she took the skills that she had and used those skills for what, 2 generations in
Yeah.
order to lift the family up, and it worked. Very, very unique way of addressing um, economics back then.
Yeah, and she did a fabulous job. And another woman who dared, because she this whole plan for her whole legacy, she
Hmm.
planned out, and then each one of them carried it out. So that was good
Hmm.
too.
Yeah, generational wealth. She built generational
Yeah.
wealth. Um, and you had the young man, the brother, the young cousin who was bright enough to pass for white, was going to Harvard, medical school, and knowing that probably at some time in this point he might not ever see his family again. But he said, regardless of what happens, there will still be Moreau blood in the veins of my children. So
Hmm.
uh, which I thought was a very, very unique and awesome way of looking at it. So, but he needed to do that in order to lift himself up. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know this is the end of the story, but I kind of want to know what's happening with Dory. I want to know, how is Braxton and Raven, how, because they're two different people,
yeah,
but
yeah.
are they different people though?
I
And
think they
then,
are. I think they are. They're two different people, but they are also mirrors of each other in different ways. Like they said, like he said, he needed a little bit of her life, and she needed a little bit of his. And when they came together, they made that full kind of life. So I mean, he grew up not being able to have fun because his
yeah,
mom was like, the white people always watching. You can't be dirty. You can't, don't be coming in the
yeah,
house full of mud and all that. And Raven was like, we were out fishing and chasing
mm-hmm,
lizards and coming home filthy dirty, and our parents didn't care. So they were, you know, different aspects of what each of them needed, I think. Did they move to Boston? Yeah, they did. Because
yeah,
remember, she rented out the house, and that epilogue takes place, in Boston because Dory got to ice skate.
mm-hmm,
Um, and it was one of the things too that people kept asking me. Well, we're gonna get a story for Dory. I'm like, she's 9 people. We everybody want all my kids to grow up. And maybe who knows? We'll see what the future holds. But she was definitely a very, very memorable little character because she was like the Greek chorus. She'd come in, say her little spot, and then disappear. So
mm-hmm. It was something. It was another funny part in here is, and I said I was going to tell you this if I ever talked to you about it. Like, okay, Alice in Wonderland. Now, the way she
yeah,
gave the review on Alice in Wonderland, like now I got to get that book again, and I got to read it through Raven's eyes.
yeah. Because
So that
when
title, why did you choose the title?
well, because I needed a book that was popular at that in that era that he would be reading.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I knew I didn't know she couldn't read until later in the story.
Okay.
So I ordered a copy of. I was going to do 2 things. I was going to do Canterbury Tales. And I was going to do Alice in Wonderland.
Mm,
So I'm reading Alice in Wonderland, and I'm reading the introduction about this man and these 2 girls in this boat, and I'm like, huh? Where's her parents? I'm like, Raven, what is? Wait, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. No, no, this is not right. You know, and so I let that Raven spoke for me in that part, and then you find out that they did this twice, and that he was an opium smoker. I'm like, no wonder this looked like no wonder this looked like some of the LSD I did in college. What the hell is this about, right? So it was a perfect book. Um, I thought it was a great scene when he was reading to her on the train, and
uh-huh.
everybody and the little boy came
Mhm.
over and wanted to know if he could listen, and went and got his mama, and next thing we know, got everybody in the smoking car, taking turns reading the story. Um,
I
but
you
yeah,
know,
I mean, when you do stuff like that, you have to pick a book that was at that time. Like I couldn't pick
mhm.
anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to do something that's within the time frame. And Alice in Wonderland was it. So
I said Raven gave Alice in Wonderland her first review. But when I read Alice in Wonderland as a child, so that was like a long time ago. But as I was, reading it through her eyes, I was just like, yeah, where are her parents? Why is she with those men? Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like where
I
was I
know.
at when I read that book?
Yeah. But our
So,
parents didn't read us that part. Our parents didn't
yeah,
read us that
yes,
part. They just read us the part where the story began.
yeah,
Because I never knew that intro until recently.
yeah,
I was like, oh hell no! What was this man about? Are we
right,
doing
right,
pedophilia here? What's going on? You know?
right.
Yeah. So Raven
And we
caught
know,
on
and
right quick.
yeah, she did. And oh my God. So that was like really a total treat with that with Raven. Man, that just endeared me to her even more with
Yeah.
that. Oh my God. And then you don't so she didn't read, but and I love how she entrusted him with um with that, because remember her mom, well, not, you don't have to remember, but her mom was the only one who really and maybe her cousins too, but her mom was the one, seemed like she was keeping that secret, of her not being able to
Mm-hmm.
read. But I was just like, is she gonna tell him, because she didn't seem like the person who would share something like that with the
Mm-mm,
guy,
no, no,
you
no,
know.
no, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Mary Buckner
yeah,
says it's an adult book, not a children's book.
yeah. But it's supposedly a children's book, but not really. Not if
Yeah.
you look at it, and that and I do for fairy tales a lot. We do um Little Red Riding Hood in Edge of Midnight.
Mm,
And
yes,
one of the readers told me, Miss Val, I'm never gonna look at Little Red Riding Hood in
right.
the same way ever again. And I'm like, okay, good, thank you.
Mm, mm.
But it's a cuteness vector, cuteness factor with those kinds of things.
So I talked to you. I Well, let me go back first before I ask you this. So are we gonna be seeing more of any of those? Like we saw the Levex again, but are you done with the Levex? I know they have a few more brothers. So are we
I
gonna?
got two more brothers. I don't
Okay.
know. I got a story, sort of, which is sort of off the beaten path for
Hmm.
Philippe because it's with a mermaid. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's gonna be a novella if I ever get a chance to write it. I got all this other stuff going on. All these, I'm still trying to do Sweetness and I've been
Oh,
lying about to my readers for the
I
last 20
know.
years. You know, um, but two brothers left, Bo and Philippe, and then I want to do. Diego July has been in the back of my head, tapping
July's.
his hand, going, "Come on, lady, I need a story." The original Diego. Um, so not Crystal's Diego from Blessings. So a
Yeah.
lot of stories, and I got a lot more road behind me than I got ahead of me. So to try and I don't know. Some of these books may have to wait till the next lifetime. It's like
Oh,
Erica Badu. Erica Badu. I see you. I see you next lifetime. But there are some things I would like. In my dragon book too.
I was going. That's where I was going with this too.
I really want to do that one too. So I need
Yeah.
a clone. I need a clone to do the books while I just sit around and chill and play in the garden and all of that. But we shall see. We
All
shall
right.
see.
Well, guys, Miss Bev is on deadline, so she come out of the cave to play with us. So we gonna be mindful of her time. But Miss Bev, if you can tell us, what are you working on down there in that cave?
I am doing Blessings 11.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah. So we can have this Christmas in Henry Adams that we've been waiting for 2 years. See whether Bernadine and Mal actually get married.
Yes, are they?
Um, I can't tell you. If I tell you, I have to kill you. Um,
I,
find
at
out
one
what's
point, I
going on.
thought they were going to kill each other.
Oh, I know. Everybody wanted to kill Mal. I just got some folks still mad at Mal. Um, catch up with the kids, um, and try and get it in by the end of the month so that, because publishing is having this big issues with these supply chain issues,
Yeah, I heard
and
that.
yeah, and a lot of printers have closed down. The price of
Mhm.
paper is like sky high.
Yeah.
So if you miss your spot, everything's backed up, and you wind up with a book put off for 3 years, which I don't want that to
Hmm.
happen. So
Hmm.
I really want to try and get this in. And then Raven was the last was the last book on the current contract for historicals. So we'll
Okay.
have to see where we're going to go with that. And then the Blessings book should be 12 books. This will be 11. So I have no idea what we're going to do with book 12, but I'm sure I'll come up with
Yeah.
something. And then that'll be the end of that series for now.
Hmm.
So looking at a clean slate, maybe, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Mm.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming. And if you guys have not, if there's anyone out there in the sound of my voice who has not picked up any of these books, they are on sale. A digitally paperback, even on audio too. It's called
And
The
there's a
Women Who
hardcover,
Give.
and Catch a
Oh,
Raven is also
come on.
hardcover.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes, yes, yes. I need to get those. I drove to get my book signed by Miss Bev a couple weekends ago, and then somebody came behind me with a hardback book. I missed that. So,
it's a
uh,
hardcover.
yes, yes, yes. Now, are all three of them in hardcover, Miss Bev?
This one is in hardcover. I just saw the Rebels in hardcover. I think for the library edition. I just saw
Okay,
the cover today. It's beautiful. So I didn't ask the question whether is this a hardcover or is this a library hardcover, because they've all
okay,
been hardcovers for libraries, and there's been large print.
okay, okay, okay.
So
Good to know.
yeah,
Okay, so we got Rebel is the first one. We have Wild Rain is the second one, and then of course the most recent one is To Catch a Raven. So pick them all up, whatever suits your fancy. Just get into it. It's a great series. I recommend it wholeheartedly. Miss Bab, I'm gonna let you have the last words. What do you want to leave the people with?
I want to thank you, all the reviewers, all the bloggers, and especially my readers. And my readers, they know that I've said this 1,000 times, that when I count my blessings, I count them twice,
Mhm,
because without y'all, I wouldn't be here. I
mhm,
would not be here without the readers who take the time with their hard earned money, because you could be doing something else with that cash, to buy my books, to support me all these years, 28 years. Some of y'all been with me 28 years.
mhm.
But whether you're with me from the beginning or whether you discover me tomorrow, I'm so, so, so very grateful to have you on this journey with me and these
Yeah,
books.
yeah.
So
We,
thank
we
you.
we love you, and I can just tell you, as a reader, where else will we be but in the bookstore picking up your books? Look, whether we got the money or not, or with credit, or we gonna buy it, we gonna pay, get it now and pay later. It don't matter
Yeah,
for us. We gonna have
yeah,
it.
yeah. And
All
as
right.
my hat says, the Black authors matter.
Oh, and indeed they do.
So
Indeed they do.
support your Black authors
Yeah.
in every way that you can.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, okay. Thank you all. Have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you, babe.
Okay. Thank you so much. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye bye.